Who's doing the signal to vote? Good afternoon. I hereby call this agenda review of Nacogdoches ISD Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that a quorum is present and a notice of this meeting was posted as required by Texas Open Meeting Act. All board members here except Dr. T.C. Groman. He is out of state and he's absent. Today, all items on the agenda are for discussions only. No voting takes place in this meeting. Thank you for joining us, and we ask to please turn your cell phones to the silent mode. At this portion of our meeting is public comment, and we have not received any request to address the board. However, if anyone is interested to address the board and will make a comment in a future meeting, the instructions on how to sign up are included in the notice of the meeting. Okay, we're moving on to the consent agenda. This portion of the meeting, we will discuss items on the consent agenda, and no action will be taken on these items. With that, we start with the board meeting minutes. Board? Do we have any questions concerning those? Incidentally, Reverend Pitcock is absent as well, I'm sorry. Okay, if we have no question, we move to the next item. Is item B, which is office report, business office report. Ms. Lisa Barbrick.
Good afternoon, President Nirman, board members, Dr. Trujillo. So this is our final budget amendments for the year. And so this is where I have to make sure that we are covered in every function as far as budget. If we are not, that ends up in an audit finding. So I look at prior year trends and where we tend to, at the end of the year, be off. And then I add to those functions, and then I take from functions where we are safe. So that is what A is all about. Any questions on Budget Amendment A?
I just want some clarification on this extracurricular amount of increase. Is that because what we're receiving has had an increase in the price, or is it because we just want to have a cushion?
The $85,000? Mm-hmm. Well, at the end of the year, we tend to receive transportation invoices late, and we never know how much they're going to be, like for summer school or, not summer school, but field trips. I keep saying the wrong things. The
UIN.
Functions are, for 36 would be athletics and UIL.
Okay.
It's basically all the extracurricular activities.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we have a lot that happens at the end of the year.
Any question?
Okay, item B, transfer telephone service savings into technology fund. This is an annual amount that we transfer over into the technology fund, and it's basically our E-rate savings that we get through our telephone service. Item C, budget funds received for athletic facility use and associated expenses. Again, this is we do this often when we rent out our fields for playoff games. Item D, budget insurance proceeds for vehicle repairs. We've had a couple of vehicles that had claims for our insurance. We've received the funds, and now we're delegating the funds to those appropriate expenditure functions. And item E, budget funds received to pay for security at prom provided by our police department. So prom is paying for our police department to work security there. Any questions on the rest of the budget amendments? All right, next I would like to go to our, we have donations listed in here, but there are no donations, so I wish to pull that. And then our investment report, you can find on page 26. Our earnings for the year between all funds are for the month are $242,452.17. Again, we are doing well there. we have earned about 1.8 million over the year.
Any question, folks?
If you have any other questions, I will take those now.
We don't. How about the miscellaneous business office report
Right, if you have any questions on those, I'll take those now.
and purchase over 50,000?
Those don't belong to me.
Okay. Board, any questions? Okay. Now I'm going to move to the next idea or topic. It's at Letwell, presenter Dr. Dea Hale and Dr. Kimberly Welsh, Assistant Superintendents.
Sure. Thank you, President Nuriman, board members, as well as Superintendent Trujillo. These are just additional classroom supplies. You've got 3 different quotes there. The first 2 are for our model classrooms that are going to be at the former campus of Nettie, and then the 3rd quote is specifically for cafeteria seating for McMichael Middle School.
Okay. Any question, people? If not, it would be item E, second reading of revised local policy FDB, admissions, intra-district transfers, and classroom assignments. Mr. Marvin Tarvin, our Assistant Superintendent.
Good afternoon, President Nuriman, board members, Superintendent Trujillo. This is the second reading of board policy FTB local admissions to inter-district and classroom assignments. When a student has been transferred into a new school, into one of our schools from another attendance zone here, the policy reads that their transfer can be revoked at the end of a grading period. What we are asking is that we change this policy to make sure that it goes to at the end of a semester. This allows parents and students a little time to get adjusted for that.
Yes.
If we have new students come from a different system, which is a grading system is different, how do we deal with those?
Yes, sir. Now, that's a different type of transfer that we're talking about. Say if they're coming from Woden to Nacogdoches, but this particular one is just particular to attendance zones here in Nacogdoches. So if a student is designed to go to BQJ, but is transferred to Mike Moses.
Right. Okay, that's intra-district. How about if somebody comes from outside of a district?
Once we accept them, we are accepting them for the entire year.
I understand, but what the grading system is different than our grading system. For example, taking a college course, not a dual credit, but those freshmen, they go college readiness, they come back with a C or B. Well, B starts from what, 79 to 89? So where is transfer, so would be fair to average for students that we currently have on school?
President Farshid,
Yes.
this particular item only addresses policy for transfer. We have no information on grading. That's not changing the policy with that. So this one is only the process of intra-district and intra-district transfers. This policy has nothing to do with grading or any part of that aspect. However, if you want an answer to that question, I'd be happy to get that from the team and then get it back to the board.
Thank you.
But this one here is just transfers,
Thank you.
accepting and non-accepting students.
Okay.
Yeah. We need to do EIE, or EIE. Yeah, we haven't done that one yet.
Okay, the next would be second reading of local, but we just, second reading of local policy EIE, academic achievement, retention, and promotion. Dr. Kimberly Welsh and Dr. Dea Hale.
Yes, good afternoon, thank you. Last month, you heard the first reading of the EIE local policy, and this is just to bring our policy in line with our practice in regards to promotion and retention. Are there any questions from the last reading?
I don't.
these are good, high standards, you know. We don't want to have any kind of social promotion at all that, you know, we had to live with for decades. So there isn't really that much of a change. We're making sure that a student is on grade level at least 70 or better with all the TEKS based on all their assignments and their tests and all of that.
Yes, ma'am.
But it might be, since we're talking about it, it might be a good time for you to just very quickly let the public know what a parent's, what they can do if a child is going to be retained. Do they have any say-so, or, you know? And also, because I'm coming as a teacher, you know, and nothing's worse than having a bunch of students that are not on grade level. It makes it very hard. And we do a lot to keep a child, you know, when they're failing, and we have so many things that we offer. And so if you could just real quickly.
We're very fortunate in our district that we have several opportunities for students who are not performing on grade level. We have, within the day, we have win time, we have academic interventions, we have tutoring, and then if they still are not performing on grade level by the end of the school year, we recommend that they go to another opportunity that we have, which is our summer learning program. And this is, again, targeting grade level standards and essential standards. And if after that time, it is still determined that they are not on grade level, then we can have a meeting, a grade level meeting with the parents and with the administrators and with the teachers to determine what is the best course of action. And the parents have the right to request that their child be retained in KN1. But we are hopeful that throughout the year, that we are not catching them at the end of the year that they are not prepared. We are hoping to catch them early and have early intervention, and we have several opportunities throughout the year with experts that can hopefully get our students up to grade level. That is our goal.
Good,
So
thank you.
can you talk a little bit about how you're going to do that, or what you guys are thinking about in terms of if they're not at grade level, what's going to be the process right at that point?
Well, we have a response to intervention that is a federal program, and it is to catch students that at any time that you see that a student is not performing on grade level, that the goal is to catch them then and to start providing a very targeted and independent and individualized intervention for that student. And then you start doing your progress monitoring to see how that student is performing.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted it stated, because I didn't want any parents out there to hear this and just get frightened and think, you know, they should not be caught unawares. This should not be a surprise at all, because we do so much along the way. Yeah, thank you.
And you might be able to, Dr. Welch or Dr. Hill, Coach Fashid had asked a question with regards to transfers. This would be applicable to the students as they're transferring in, because all systems use a grade system of the point system that we use. We're not unique in that aspect of it. Would you be able to address that now with Coach Fashid's question with regards to grading? When students come in, you're looking at the transcripts specifically for high school, because you have class ranking, you have all the different things that play into it. If you feel comfortable answering that question.
I think I know the answer, but I want to double check before I go on the record. Because to your point, yes, college courses do provide alpha, or the alphanumerical grading system, but ours is numerical. I believe there is a conversion chart, but before I go on the record to say that, I want to get it actually in my hands.
When I was a student within school, I think the last year of having college readiness for the freshman class, they made sure the college gives them numerical grade. They made sure of that.
Well, and to that point, that also complicates it, because now you got dual credit. What is the credit amount that's being applied? Are they giving credit for this course and not this course? And it has class ranking specifically for the high school, so.
And all of that is outlined in our course guide specifically, but I want to see it. But yes, sir, you're exactly correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is item F, Annual Report of Investment Policy. Ms. Lisa Bardrick, please.
This is our annual review of the investment policy, and it's required by the Public Funds Investment Act. We are proposing no changes to our investment policy. Attached to this or on the next page, the action sheet is on page 84. On 85 is a resolution that you sign saying that you've reviewed it, and on page 86 is the investment policy. And again, we are proposing no changes to our investment policy.
Okay. Board members, have any questions? Okay. If not, we move to item G, federally funded vendors, instructional materials. Again, Dr. Hill and Dr. Kimberly Weiss.
Thank you, President Nerman. I'm going to ask Dr. Jolene Corley to come to the podium and address these next two items.
Good afternoon, President Nerman, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Trujillo. I'm here with our agenda item seeking board approval for vendors of instructional materials that have completed the request for proposals or RFP process. This will ensure compliance with federal purchasing guidelines for school year 24-25. Board approval does not mean that we're required to engage in a contract with a vendor, but it does ensure us that we have the option if we see the need in the district.
Okay.
Okay, so let me pose a question to you. Say one of these vendors that we accept is on the list, and then for some reason something happens and they're not up to par with what we were expecting. Do you take them off that vendor list, or how do you do that?
They would stay on the list because they already went through the request for proposal process, which includes certain parameters that we collaborate with in teaching and learning with the business office. We accept the bids, and it's a very secure process. They're sealed and confidential. We have a rating that we use, and so they would remain on the list for the rest of the school year until we update. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next, any question? Next item is item G, federally funded vendors, professional development and contracting consulting services. Again, may I have address, ladies? Dr.
Yes.
Hill and Dr. Kimberly Welsh. And
I would like for Dr. Corley to respond to this agenda item, please.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. We have the vendor list for professional development and contracting consulting services. We're seeking board approval for this vendor list for school year 24 and 25 as well. It's similar to the previous agenda item, except this is focusing on the professional development and any external contracts or consultants that we may need for support.
Okay. Again, anyone has any questions? Not, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Next is rescheduling the July 24 agenda review and regular meeting schedule.
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Trujillo.
President Fashid and Board, we're looking at the month of July. Since the administration office is shut down for the 4th of July week, the entire week, kind of puts us at a disadvantage. We're going into the new calendar year. Would be a week. So give enough time to onboard and get the reports ready for the board. Our suggestion is to kick that out 1 week to the agenda review to be done on July 22nd at noon, and the regular meeting to occur on July 25th at 5 p.m.
And we will be informed by Ms. Anderson, correct? Okay, thank you. Next, we have two items on the discussion agenda portion of this agenda meeting, starting with consideration of the board action on adoption of the 2024-2025 budget. Presenter, Ms. Lisa Barbary. We can get everything out of you we can while you're here.
That's right. I'm going to be going over the proposed budget document that begins on page 98. This document gives a little more detail than what I present on the open meeting that will happen on Thursday. So I would like to begin on page 100. We have our historical tax rates. And you'll see that we have been declining in our tax rate over several years now. That is because the state is compressing our tax rate. This is purposeful by the state, trying to give our property owners a break on their property taxes. But that doesn't, that shifts the funding mechanism more to the state side rather than the local side. Eventually, you got to wonder where the money is going to come from, though.
Yeah.
Amen.
On page 101 is our historical property values, and we have seen a rise in our property values over many years until this year. We are projected to drop, and that is because we voted for that increase in our homestead exemption, so that affected our property values, taxable property values.
That's probably what the city people try to bring more people in here and build more houses. Certainly would help.
On page 102 is our historical attendance data. The second column is our snapshot enrollment, and you'll see the last several years we have been dropping in our enrollment. Again, for this new year, we are projecting another drop, as well as in our average daily attendance, we are projecting a drop. But what's interesting is in our WADA, which is our weighted average daily attendance, it is increasing. That is our special population. We are growing in our special populations and decreasing in our regular ed student. So that's why you see that discrepancy there between the data. So on page 103 are the assumptions we used to build the budget. A refined ADA of 5,240.01, maintenance and operation tax rate of 0.7597, and just not long, it's been about 5 years, it was at $1.17. Our debt service tax rate is at 38 cents. That's no change from prior year. Certified property values will not be available until July of 2024. So when we are building the budget, we are estimating what our taxes will be. And then once this comes through, we will have a better idea of that. Staffing is based on an enrollment of 5,887. Bus drivers received a flat increase of 22.5%, and all other staff received a 2% flat increase. On page 104 is our teacher, RN, and librarian compensation plan. It's reflecting a 2% increase. And on page 105 shows how the pay increase works. So if you you were a brand new teacher last year, or this year rather, you $50,000. Next year you move to step 2 and you are now going to make $51,000, and that is a 2% increase. On page 106 are historical.
Excuse me, I had just a quick question. So the second year, they're going to get a $1,000 increase, and is that for everybody that's in the district, or is that just for select?
That's just for, so you look at a brand-new teacher, $50,000, that's $1,000. Now move down to the second year with step 2, they're receiving $1,004. That's a 2% increase.
Okay, thank you.
On page 106 are historical teacher salaries. In 2001, our beginning teacher made $25,500, and now they make $50,000. So we've made great strides there, but not really enough, but that is a big change.
Ms. Lundberg, let me hit pause for just a second. Mr. Whitaker, it's a good point for you to speak on, just so the board's aware, because we do have staff that we're adjusting it because we do have staff that have not completed their endorsement. They're hired as, and they're going through a teacher development program. And in conversation with the executive team, we want to incentivize those folks to get done with their program. So what we've stopped doing is, and this I want to make sure that our staff hears this and also our community hears this, is if those folks are not completed their endorsements, then they will not move to the next step until they complete that, whatever salary they came into the district as. We wanted to make sure that that was clear. Would you like to add some more to that? Or Dr. Welch and Dr. Hill, you all were working specifically with campus principals with regards to that particular topic, and that's where we arrived.
Good afternoon, President Rashid, board members, Superintendent Trujillo. Yes, sir, really wanted to look at that, and it was a topic of discussion amongst our principals as well, to definitely incentivize them. You know, in the past, when we had folks, when it was definitely a smaller number of individuals maybe going through a program, or now in this case of a district of innovation, we want to definitely increase, again, like Dr. Trujillo mentioned, to kind of incentivize them before. We definitely understand that staffing is a concern, and we want to make sure that we are staffing our campuses with qualified individuals. And as you look into the comprehensive needs assessment or our district improvement plan, one of the things that has been historically in there is to make sure that our teachers are, the goal, right, is 100% certified. And so we are definitely working with those individuals and communicating to get updated progress on their certification, where you are at in the program, and as well as communicate this this new process or procedure to make sure that we have a kind of a step differential to make sure they complete that, because sometimes individuals don't see the difference if they're making and move year to year to a different step. That is not sometimes a priority in getting their certification done, in which we want all of our teachers to be certified. As you may know, that we still have to send communication home to parents to let them know that their teacher in their classroom is not certified. And so that's just an initiative, and it's always beneficial to be certified, whether you stay with us or you may go somewhere else. To be certified, standard certified, is a priority that the district is working toward and standing upon, and trying to make sure that we are meeting those needs in the way that we can. And we want to have that step differential to hopefully incentivize and communicate that, hey, this is a top priority for us.
Mr. Woodard, I'm just curious, so when these people like Dr. Trujillo were talking about how they have to do this training, do they have to do a contract with our district to do that, get that, complete that, or is there a time limit on it, or?
Yes, sir. So in the past, we're working on trying to streamline those processes of making sure that those individuals complete that. Let's say if you have an individual coming in, they've passed their, what used to be, highly qualified, they've passed their content, they have those exams under their belt, if you will. You issue them a contract, you have 3 years to be able to meet all the qualifications to become standard certified through TEA and through SBEC, and then you have your standard certification, because then it will allow you to move from a probationary teacher to become a term contract teacher, if you will. And so some individuals who are coming in who may not under District of Innovation, they're not on a contract with us, but have an agreement to make sure that, hey, because they have not passed, they have not met those certain check marks of passed their content, or maybe have passed their pedagogy exams that they have to take.
Mr. Montoya, to your point, if they signed up to go through iTeach Texas, which is one that's hurting now, and they're getting the certification through iTeach, their contract and obligation is with iTeach Texas, not with Nacogdoches ISD. We bring them in under the reconnaissance, they're going to complete that with the timeline that iTeach Texas gives them. But if there's nobody policing that on that side of it, which is the case that we discovered as we were having conversation, that we had teachers that were part of a program, and they're in year 3, year 4, year 5, they're just climbing up the step ladder as if they're completed, and they're not completed. And we want to honor our teachers that have gone through the steps of becoming certified and highly qualified. So we're moving to freezing those folks, so that they are not part of the step anymore until they complete that and follow through. Unfortunately, you have some entities out there that certify teachers that do not do a real good job of following up with them. So this is our way of making sure that we communicate with our staff finish what every other teacher has done in this district to get themselves highly qualified. So to your point, they have no obligation to us. This is our method of going in there and saying, you will not. I wanted to make sure, as we're talking this conversation with STEP, that if you do hear, and it is in the community that a teacher says, I'm not moving up the step, I didn't get the step. Okay, why did you not get the step?
Yeah.
Are you fully certified? Are you going through a program? Have you showed progress? And so, and we'll talk about this as well when we move to the administration, because we want to make sure that we have folks that are in the pathway of becoming an assistant principal to becoming a principal, that they too follow through with the obligation of getting themselves fully certified, not just coming in and doing the job and then climbing the ladder of compensation. So thank you for allowing me to interject. I just wanted to make sure that we clarify that with the board, because you may get individuals that were saying that I didn't get no step and y'all approved the step. So, but anyway, thank you, Lisa.
Okay, on page 107, you'll find the approved counselor compensation plan. And then now on page 109, we're going to start getting into the actual budget. So on page 109, we have 4 columns. The first column is the proposed general fund budget. Column 2 is the student nutrition budget, and column 3 is the debt service budget. Column 4 is all of those 3 combined. These are presented by function, which is how you approve the budget. So for general fund, we see that we have a $62,503,660 revenue, and the same for our expenditures for a balanced budget. We are projecting our ending fund balance will be $35,809,319. For student nutrition, we are projecting revenue of $4.9 million and expenditures of $5.3 million for a deficit spending of $418,167. They, for the past several years, student nutrition has been operating with a too large of a fund balance, and we've had management comments on that, and this is an attempt to get that down to the proper levels. Debt service fund, we have a revenue, projecting revenue of $9.4 million, and the same for expenditures, $9.4 million for a balanced budget with ending fund balance of $5.5 million. On the following pages, you'll just find the same budget but presented with different focuses. But I'd like to point out on page 111, we have a graph there. It is our proposed general fund revenue by major object. So this is showing 66% of our revenues is coming from the state. In the past, it was more of a 50-50 between state and local, but because of our compressed tax rate, state is now the larger portion of our revenue.
So how difficult would it be for our district if we lost federal funds?
It would be huge.
Matter of fact, we did lose some federal funding with SHARS this year with regards to special education, correct?
Right.
How much did we lose from that?
Well,
I know I'm
$1
calling
million,
you-
$1 million.
$1 million. And just as a matter of record, that was something that the state, in dialogue with the feds, for years have been going back and forth with regards to this. The feds finally came back and said, enough, we want our money, because you haven't been doing what you've been saying, not to us, but the state level. And that's where every district across the state of Texas was hit with regards to SHARS. And I feel really bad for districts across the state, mostly if you're a small district, because $1 million for us was a hit, but some of these districts, $200,000 is a huge hit. It's almost $1 million for them. So proportionately, it hit us pretty hard when it came to the federal guidelines, even though it's 2%, according to what is here, it's astronomical. However, you talk to our federal folks, Dr. Salceda, and with special ed, with our bilingual programming, the federal guidelines and the regulations are overwhelming in the Fed side of it. So we're doing our best to align ourselves to those expectations when it comes to our special education student as well as our bilingual ESL students.
And we did show that we, as a district, did follow the guidelines, and we did do the services that we were supposed to be reimbursed for, but the state denied our appeal. There is going to be an additional appeal that goes to an actual court where we get up and talk, and that would have been me, but it will not be me. It will be Dr. Trujillo and my predecessor doing that. So we are still pursuing those funds.
Thank you.
On page 113, we have our proposed general fund expenditures by function, and here you'll see that 52% of our budget is providing instruction. On page 115, we have our proposed general fund budgets by major object. And here you'll see that 81% of our budget is spent on salary and benefits, on payroll. Payroll by function, you'll find on page 116, 60% of our payroll is for instruction. The following.
Lisa, can I
Go ahead.
interject something here? I just want to make sure as a matter of record, because we are proposing for the board on Thursday night a balanced budget, okay? However, I want to make sure that as a matter of record, that upwards of 60 to as high as 80% of the school districts across the state of Texas are adopting a deficit budget. That means they don't have the funds in the bank in order to arrive to that. Fortunately, we did arrive with a balanced budget, but we would not have known that until most recently. Lisa's been working, even though this is her last month, she has been working diligently to present us a balanced budget. However, it was not without cost. Arriving at a balanced budget is something that more than, I don't think we've impacted education since, last time I saw this was maybe 2012, 2013, in that year when we were looking at the budget constraints that we're looking at. This has impacted instruction, instructional resources, school leadership, guidance and counseling, evaluations, student pupil transportation, extra and co-curricular activities, general admission, facilities and maintenance and operations, security and monitoring services, data processing, debt services, and facility acquisition and construction. So we've had to be very creative. Mr. Tarbin, thank you so much for reaching out to SFA. Mr. Montoya, thank you for getting us in touch with SFA. We're in relationship with them and try to figure out what we can do to provide the services of social workers. But it's not without the efforts of going out and developing relationships with entities like Stephen F. Austin to help fund that. Also, our security system, our police officers demand by the state to make sure that we have an officer at every building. Chief, thank you so much for working diligently to get that done. However, we get no new money that we wouldn't have made able to do that, because we're able to look through grants and we're able to fund those officers. This budget would not have been able to be done if we did not have those grants that are there for providing us with the tools. And now, on top of it all, Dr. Hill and Dr. Welch are also having to do the dance when it comes to curriculum, and looking at what the state is creating and what they're developing and evaluating the effectiveness of that curriculum, because we will get funding for that curriculum, up to $40 per student, to entice us as a school district to use the curriculum that has been designed by TEA. It may be an outstanding curriculum, but in order for us to get the funding, then we have to adopt that curriculum, which means if we went off and did our own curriculum, it would be a hit to the budget. How did we get to a balanced budget? These principals that are sitting out here in the audience. It wasn't without their fight and demanding for the positions that they have. Did they get what they wanted? Probably not. But they showed up and they came in, and this team met regularly. frequently to have a conversation about how do we get to a balanced budget. It would have been pretty simple for us to say, we don't have the money, we're going to present a deficit budget, and then we move on. But we wanted to do our due diligence. However, Lisa will be long gone a year from now. If we do not see a change in the direction that the state is providing for funding, there is no way, as a matter of record, that we will present a balanced budget 1 year from today. We will be in dire straits when it comes to funding the operations of schools. This room needs utilities, whether it's one person in this room or 500 people in this room. It's still going to cost us the same amount to provide the support that we need to run the classroom, and also pay our teachers what they need. It could have been this board collectively said we support a 2% increase in a year that we need to lift up our teachers, to let them know that we value you and we want you to come work for Nacogdoches. If we did not do a 2% increase in our neighboring schools that have adopted a deficit budget, but they're also providing a pay increase for their teachers, is that we're saying locally, we value our teachers, we're going to do everything we can to provide them with the needs that we have. So we presented a balanced budget. We're still talking about that. But I wanted to fully paint the picture of how we arrived to this. And I'm not being critical of any other school district. I'm just telling you what Nacogdoches had to do to arrive to this. And it wasn't without deep decisions about instruction and all the things that deal with the facilities and the dance that we have to dance sometimes in order to get the funding that we can for our schools. So I'm going on a matter of record to make sure that the board understands how we arrived to this point, and to hopefully somebody in Austin can hear us to say, let's do this the right way. Let's fund public education the way it needs to be funded. So I hate to be on my soapbox, but I wanted to make sure that's a matter of record.
Dr. Trujillo, I want to follow up on that, because if we're in the business of educating our students in this community, we have to have the funds available. This board really tries to support our staff and our teachers because we know how hard you guys work and we know how difficult the job can be sometimes. But we cannot allow for us not to be able to educate our children the way we need to educate them. I saw where other districts are losing teachers because they can't afford to pay them. We can't afford that in this district. We've come a long way. And I want to thank the administration and Dr. Trujillo and staff, because you guys have worked to where we're at now, and we got to continue that.
All right. On page 117, here we have a professional contracted services by function. And for the first time, we'll see that instruction does not lead the majority of this. It is plant services, specifically utilities and insurance. On page 118, supplies and materials by function, and that is pretty much across the board. We have about 4 of the bigger pie, but everybody needs supplies, every department. And then other operating costs by function, the green, the 46% there is plant services again. Following pages are just more breakdown of the budget, but on page 123, we have another pie chart, proposed budget by program intent code, or PIC, and the largest portion of this budget is 42% undistributed. That's just when we say undistributed, that's function 99. Every student, every department it's when you can't identify a specific area. So like utilities is one of them. We don't break utilities down by, different functions. So the next biggest then is 26%, and that is instruction. So the point of me going through these graphs is to show you that the biggest portion of our budget is all geared towards instruction.
Lisa, thank you for the pie charts, and thank you for the colors. It really helps someone like me who, is special when it comes to math. This is all on our website, right?
It will be.
Okay, yes. So when, we had a lot of discussion at the last election between parents and community and the state and education, and if they are still not understanding why we are screaming to the state that we need more funding, then I really encourage them to look through this and see, we're not being frivolous at all, and education is costly.
Yes, it is. And the final thing I would like to say is the budget, I've said this every year, the budget is a living document. You know this because I bring budget amendments to you on a monthly basis. I already know that there's a change to this budget, but you know, at some point, you've got to stop, you've got to present a document, and this is what you will be adopting. But we will be bringing some budget amendments to you next month. One thing I did do to make this budget balanced is normally I take a more conservative approach to our payroll in that I may account for 1% of our payroll won't be paid out because people didn't come. I increased that. And the past years have shown that we could afford to increase it because we ended the year with positive fund balance there. So that was one of many ways that we balanced the budget. But that's the one that sort of, you know, makes me nervous because you have to just go towards a trend there. But I did want you to be aware of that. Next month with that change, I'm hoping that we can be, that change will provide some wiggle room.
And President Rashid and Board, that movement will not stop. We'll be evaluating this again in probably September when the numbers level out. The principals that are sitting in this room, we're sitting with numbers, class size numbers, that we were very conservative with to arrive with. However, to the board, knowing this, if the whites of their eyes, if the kids show up and we're in the classroom, we can't be bullheaded enough to just say we set these numbers and this is where we're at, because that will burn our teachers. We want to make sure that we adjust the classroom sizes. I don't expect Mr. Tarvin to be writing a waiver for every teacher in a grade level because we don't want to add another teaching unit to it. So with the guidance of Lisa and the team and the principals, we tightened those numbers up to go with some very conservative numbers when we adopted this. So you'll see it, and I'm glad that Ms. Barbrick is bringing this up because it's ongoing as we get into, especially the start of school. We get into September, the numbers start to level out a little bit, and we'll see what that may look like. And then we'll be relying on our principals to work with either Dr. Welch or Dr. Hill to let us know what do those numbers look like as we're moving forward. So I do appreciate you bringing that up because a living document, it is going to find itself, and it's never really going to find and settle in because you'll have adjustments even throughout the year with what we have. So thank you for bringing that up.
Lisa,
Yes.
beside the health, which is health is considered insurance we provide, right? In other words, when I was looking, the only thing I noticed has increased very small amount was the health.
You wouldn't have seen health insurance in here. Are you talking about the health services?
Health services, yes.
That's our nurses,
Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
glad you asked that. I thought it was insurance, too.
Okay. Folks, if you don't have any question, can we put this on a consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes, okay, it goes consent agenda. Okay. Next would be consideration of the board of action on purchase of wearable silent panic alert buttons. Again, Mr. Tarvin, Assistant Superintendent, will educate us.
Once again, good afternoon, everyone. Part of the actions that the state took towards safety is they want everybody on campus to be able to call for a lockdown. Every adult on campus who sees an emergency situation, they call for lockdown. So what they've done is they've said, we want a silent panic alert technology on every campus, okay? We currently use a format, an electronic format called single wire. It's InformaCast. And what that does right now is you can go to your phone at school and you can punch in a code and it'll send in a lockdown, okay? That sends out a notice to the computers, to texts, saying lockdown, lockdown. If your computer is on in the classroom, it'll take over and say lockdown, locks, lights, out of sight. Okay? That's for those people in the classroom who have that code. All of our teachers should have that code, and each school has a different code. What I'm proposing here and asking for your approval is for silent panic alert technology that is wearable, that comes to size, it's a little bit thicker than my ID, but it's about the same size, and it's wearable. Now, this technology has a little button on it, where you go and you click the button 3 times and it says, hey,
Let's not get too specific with,
Okay.
I want to put a caution note. This is a safety item.
It is.
I don't want to get any bad actors out there, any information on what we're using, so give us a 30,000-foot view without the specifics with regards to the wearables. Don't get too much into the weeds. I want to protect our teachers and protect our staff and our students.
I get excited about this one. So it's a silent panic button. It will be given out to every employee in the district, whether if they're at maintenance, they're taking care of lawn care, they're food service, everybody in the district will have one. So how this works is when they come on campus, there's a perimeter set up, and if they see something that needs to be locked down, they can call for it. The technology included in this will tell us who called for that silent panic alert, where they were, and sends out notification to the people that we tell it to. So if we go to lockdown, it goes to 911 and to our police department. Let's say that we have a maintenance man, we give him or her the push button, and they go to different campuses. They will work on every single campus that we have. So as they travel, so does that button and so does that technology. And so what we're asking for out of our Safe Cycle 2 or Safe Cycle 1 grant, the expenditure of $569,000. What we're getting out of that is we're getting all the technology that's involved in this silent panic alert technology. It will integrate with what we're currently using. It will read who set off the button, where that was through all the campus. It will allow us to go onto our computer and we can take a look at all the data that's involved in all of this. They're also, the company, Centegix is the company, they actually monitor our entire system at all times. So if we see that one of these buttons is losing power or the battery's going dead, they'll know it before we will, and they will send out somebody to repair or replace that particular button or reader throughout the campus.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
This is, to me, there's a future for that, I'll tell you that. The future for that would be within the district, rather than going beyond for first responder. I assume, in the past, we used the kids on the track for exercise. Sometimes it could be the skirmishes, sometimes it could be injuries. And if you push that button, there may be ambulances come, sheriff comes, police comes, and all that. So, another word, in the future would be differentiated, in my judgment.
Absolutely.
But,
The good news is that it doesn't work just inside of a building.
right.
It works throughout the perimeter that we put in.
Yeah.
When we looked at this, we put it around the school. I mean, it's out in the
Well,
grass, in the
yeah.
practice fields, all those things as well.
I'm totally in favor of all the safeties that we can measurement takes. God forbid, we don't want somebody said, if you did this, if you did that. We're going to do everything we can.
I have a question. I know this is like the one-time invoice. Is there an annual fee as well after this first invoice?
So this is a 5-year agreement.
Okay.
Okay? So anything that takes place, any repairs or anything that needs to take place with the hardware itself, they'll come out and they'll take care of it
Okay.
during that 5
Okay.
years. After the 5 years, we do have to re-up.
Right, okay.
And I'm sure our campus police has their own radio as well.
It will notify everybody that we tell it to, and it's like I said, I'm really excited about this.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
I don't have any. Folks, we're going to
Thank
put
you
that
all.
on the consent agenda as well. Okay. 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 Now, the board will now conduct an executive closed session to discuss items posted on our agenda pursuant to the following provision of Texas Open Meeting Act and as allowed by Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.129. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as the result of discussions in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes into open session. Time is now, I guess it's 12:58, and we should be back about 1:30. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The board now is reconvening into open session, and time is 1:38.
Yeah.
Are there any requests for future agendas? Board members? We have anything to put on agenda for next? If not, I seek a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. We adjourn.
So, yeah.